Anyway, moving on. Good day, Dave Guerra here. Welcome. So I've taken spring break week off, spending some time with the kids, spending some time with the family, doing some stuff, and well, just slowing down a little bit. So if you haven't seen me, that's what's going on. But that's still not stopped me from keeping my eye on what's going on, keeping my eye on the situation. And the situation is just getting crazier and crazier. We've had the situation with United Airlines, and they're just on the wrong end. And pardon my French, but the shitstorm is just getting bigger, deeper, wider, huge. It's getting out of control. And United Airlines has to do something about that. And that being said, what is there for them to do? Obviously, the problem is training. Training. That's always the situation. That's always the problem. Lack of training because there's not enough time. There's now more need for people to be out there constantly striving and doing what they need to be doing. There is now a need for people to spend less time training, more time on the job, because now there's a need to generate more revenue. There's a need to get people in the seats as quickly as possible, get those airplanes up in the air, make it happen, turn those seats around. Folks, I understand that. That's business. I I am all for that. But what I'm not all for is to slowly undermine your business because you refuse to understand that sometimes you have to slow down and train your staff. You have to slow down and ensure that they know what they're doing. It's when they don't know what they're doing that, well, that's where problems begin. Because if they don't, what have you got? If they can't do the job, what have you got? If they're doing the job wrong, what have you got? You've got nothing. You've got people migrating. You've got people running away as fast as humanly possible. Sorry about that. And when that happens, what is there for business? Well, guess what happens? Guess what happens? We all know. No, there's no guessing. We all know what happens. Layoffs follow because there's not enough revenue being generated. So layoffs start happening. And when layoffs start happening, who suffers? Well, the employees start suffering. They start demanding, well, why is this happening to us? And why is this? And woe is me. Folks, the employees are just as much the blame as the organization. The employees also have to step up and say, hey, I think we need a little bit more training. Hey, there was a situation on this last flight, and we might need a little more training. Hey, how do we address this? Because we're not too sure how to address this situation. And it's not just the stewardess or the flight attendants or whatever they're called, the stewards or stewardesses or flight attendants. It's everyone on the front lines, the baggage handlers, the ticket takers, the people at the counter, at the ticket counter, the people on the phone, people taking those online reservations, processing those online reservations. That's where the problem is. The problem is right here at this moment. You're seeing me. I can't see you, but this is where the problem is at this front line. This is the front lines, folks. This is it. This is the front line. And that's where the problem is. And that's why there needs to be training. There needs to be constant simulation. There needs to be constant support. And by support, I mean the management has to support those people. The management has to be ready at a moment's notice. And the individuals out there in the front lines, they know they're going to run into a situation. They have to know how to deal with it. Now, I understand you cannot cover all situations at any given time. And I understand it's always a learning situation. But somewhere along the line, there is a learning curve. And then there is a rule that needs to be followed. And all the rules don't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be a line in the desert that says you cross this line, that's it. We're not talking about that anymore. There's just too many gray areas out there that are causing so many problems. And the outsiders, the external stakeholders, they see it as like, well, that's a no-brainer. That's just common sense. That should not have happened. What possessed this individual to not understand that there was a dog in the bag? Passengers knew there was a dog in the bag. What possessed this one individual, this one flight attendant, to not figure out that, hey, wait a minute, there's a dog in the bag. Maybe I should not put it in the overhead bin. You know, what's next? Somebody, and I'm not kidding, I'm not being funny, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's going to happen because it's going to happen. Someone's going to get the bright idea, and someone on the front line for the company is going to get, and I'm not saying it's United, it's going to be somebody else. It's going to get the bright idea that maybe we should put the baby in the overhead compartment. It's pressurized just like the rest of the cabin. Someone's going to come up with that idea, and someone's going to act on it. Someone's going to demand it. And then what's going to happen? Because a little too much power is being given to the people down in that front line. I understand you've got to do that. You've got to make them your representative. But if they have the power but lack the common sense, then I guarantee you what's going to happen is somebody's going to put a baby in the overhead bin, in the overhead compartment. And then what? What's the cost then? Oh, well, we accept the blame. This is an unfortunate accident that could have been prevented. And that's how they get off. That's nonsense. That's not how they're going to get off. It's going to take the death of somebody before somebody realizes, hey, wait a minute. It might not be what we need to do. What we need to do is train people. And we need to constantly train people and constantly simulate and constantly challenge them. Heck, what does it take for a trainer to get on a flight and be that out of the ordinary passenger? Doesn't take anything at all. And folks, that's how problems get solved, because it puts them on notice, it gets them on their toes, it gets them thinking, it gets those employees figuring out, hey, wait a minute, maybe not everything is black and white. There could be some gray areas. But unfortunately, the ego takes over, and that's where we need to work on that ego. When that ego is, that's it, then we're good to go. Folks, that's my rant. That's what I've got to say on this whole situation. Training. That's the only way we're going to resolve this issue. And folks, that's the only way we're going to get better. My name is David Guerra. I'm the author of The Walking Leader. I'm observing, I'm watching, I'm taking action, and I'm talking to you because it's just that important. We've got to remember that, hey, there's human beings involved in all of this. We've got to start treating them like human beings. Have a great day.